Hey there. So this is the new user interface for the administrative side of PowerSchool. And what I want to show you in this video is how to send out communications using our new communication tool, BrightArrow. Now you've got a couple of different options here. You can do to an individual student, you can do to a class of students or the parents of a class of students, or you can do like a whole grade or whatever. So let's look at a couple of the options. Let's start with the simplest, which is if we want to send out a communication to a single student. So if we go into 12th grade, for example, and take one of our students, you'll notice that in the header now, along with our name tag icon and the IEP 504 icon, there's now something that says BrightArrow, and then there are three letters here, P, S, and B, and those stand for parents, students, and both. So if you wanted to send an email to the parent and all of the custodial parents and the student, you would use both. If you just wanted to send to the custodial parents, you would use the P, and if you just wanted to send a message to the student, you would use an S. I'm not going to go into the interface yet because it's the same for all of these, so let me show you the different ways that you can get into the system, and then I'll show you what it actually looks like. So that's how you can do a single student. Now let's look at how you would do a whole class of students. So you used to have teacher schedules over here on the left hand side. Now what you're going to do is click the people tile, go to staff, and teacher schedules is right here. So let's just take one of Petula's classes, for example. So we click on her name, it loads our list of classes that she's teaching for the 2024-25 fall semester. And you'll notice that there are two BrightArrow notification columns here. You can do parents or students, but for some weird reason you can't do both parents and students. So you would have to do either two separate ones or something like that. So again, you would click parents and it would select all of the parents of the 11 students that are enrolled in this class that are indicated as custodial parents that receive communications. If you clicked on this, again, it would choose just the student and send a message to them. So that's how you can do a class. If you needed to do multiple classes, then you're going to want to do the same thing as if you need to do like a grade or something like that. So let's start by talking about grades. So if we wanted to send a message to the entire 12th grade, which is what I currently have selected, what we do is select those students, and then down here, this multifunction button, you can change what the button does by clicking this drop down arrow. And the top three items are BrightArrow Alert Parents, BrightArrow Alert Students, and Parents and Students. So here is where you can do both the parent and the student, just the parent, or just the student. Clicking on it, all it does, well, it's supposed to just change the button's function, and then you're supposed to click it separately, but maybe they've changed that to make it a little more efficient. But so clicking this will change whatever option you're using on this button, but then that option will stay, I think, until the next time you sign out and sign back in. So likewise, any selection we get in PowerSchool, we can do using this feature. So for example, if we wanted to, send a communication out to all of the students identifying as female, we can just search gender equals F, and then we could alert the students, or we could alert the parents, or both. So any selection that you can get here in PowerSchool, you're able to send a message to. Now let's say, for example, you wanted to send a communication to multiple sections. Let's go to staff, teacher schedules again, and let's take somebody that we know has multiple classes of the same. How about, let's take Lee. So Lee has 4 sections of ELA 9, and suppose we wanted to communicate to all of the students and parents in those 4 classes. The way to do it, there's no way to say just like, I don't think this does it. I think this only has the unlock selections option. Yeah, lock, unlock, and clear. So basically what we need to do to get the the selection is we need to open each of these lists of students separately. And so what I'm going to do is hold the control key while I click these enrollment numbers, and it will open up new tabs. Okay, which you're not going to be able to see because I'm only recording. No, I think you can, yes. So at the bottom of each of these is a button. On the first class I go to, I'm going to say make this class be my current selection. And now the students enrolled in that class are going to be the ones I see on the front page in PowerSchool. Then I can go to my next class, open in another tab, and say add to the current selection. So I'm adding it to the kids from the first class. And as I go along, I can actually close these tabs once I get back to the start page. So for the third class, add to current selection. And then for the fourth class, same thing, add to current selection. And then this should be pretty much equivalent to all ninth graders, but I wanted to show you the way that you could do it for a set of teachers' classes instead of selecting by grade. And again, once you have the selection, you can choose whether you want to do parents, students, or both. Once we have got our selection, that's kind of the main ways that you can get into the system and start communicating to a family. So once you do that, we can say BrightArrow alerts students. And it does, the larger the selection, the longer it kind of takes for it to come here. I actually had it earlier where I selected the whole school, and it took a good like 15-20 seconds before it was ready to go. Sorry about that, had to pause for a second. So once we get into the system and this page loads up, the first thing to check is you can see up in the upper right hand corner it says 60 contacts selected, which should match up to how many students were selected on the front page of PowerSchool, which we'll just double check and make sure. Yep, 60. And then you can click on this to see all of the contacts. You're going to notice that some of them don't have parent contact info in there or student info in there. All of the new students coming in have not had their email addresses put in PowerSchool yet. I'm working on that this week. So you're going to see that some of them don't have anything in there. It's always a good idea just to double check and make sure before you send the email out that you know that it's going to reach all your students. And if you do see any students with missing emails after I fill them all in, please let me know. Send me an email. Now this is only showing students 1 through 50. If I did 1 through 100, then it's going to show the rest. So just be aware of that fact as well, that by default it only shows 50 at a time. So once we review that, we can then go ahead and create the message. Or if we have an existing message, we can edit it, and so on. So let's say create message. We can choose whether we want to do email, phone, texting, all three. Social media post is not turned on yet, so just ignore that. Give it a name. It says optional, but I would always do it just because we don't want, we can do reports and see, and you can check on the status of your messages and so forth. So if we don't give it a name, it's harder to tell which one is which. You should almost always be sending out your message as informational. Emergency is just for emergency situations, and it goes to the top of their call queue at the BrightArrow systems. So once you've filled in this information, you click next, and then we get this form which looks kind of like an email setup. So here you're going to put your name in. Here you're going to put your email address, obviously the subject. If you want to attach a PDF or some other kind of document or image to it, you can do that here. When you're writing your email, if you want to do mail merge, you can fill in students' names, dates, things like that. We also have a few custom fields that we don't really use. But you can, definitely put in students' first names, last names, full names, things like that. I would say always check this box to translate the email. If we have the parents set up as having a different preferred language, the system will automatically translate using AI. There are email templates that you can use. You can create your own templates that you can then keep pulling back up again and again and again. So for example, an attendance letter that gets sent out when a student reaches a certain threshold, you can kind of draft it using the wildcards to put the student's name in, as well as the date the email is being sent, and then the system will go ahead and do that mail merge for you of all the students that need the attendance letter. You can also have images that are stored, so at some point I'm going to upload the PVPA logos and things like that, so we can easily grab them from there. And then you compose your email here, and when you're done with it, you're going to scroll back to the top and say next. And then we're going to move on to the texting. So here is your text message. It has unlimited characters, but I believe what happens is once it reaches the limit, it gives a link to click that then takes you to the entire message. Again, I would make sure that translate is turned on because it will translate text messages as well. And then, and by default, it copies the entire text from the email over here, but it doesn't have all the formatting. So just be aware of that. So I'm going to put, text message here. Then we say next, and then we can do our voice recording. And you can either use a computer voice, in which case you can type the message, or you can record your voice, in which case you're going to call in and it's going to fill in the information. You can also do a survey where you ask people to push buttons and collect the data from it. I have not even looked at this yet, so I'll put together a tutorial later on how to do this sort of thing. Once you've recorded all your messages, you've got your email done, you got your text done, we can hit next, and then you can either schedule the message to go out later, you can save it if you're not done with it and you want to keep working on it, you can preview it, or you can send it now. And obviously I'm not going to send it now because I don't want to communicate to this family. So, all these families. So I'm going to hit cancel. Do I wish to save the changes? No. And now I'm back at my start page. So that same basic interface will happen no matter how you get into the system, whether you clicked for a single student, or you had a selection that you went into, or you did it from a teacher's class section list. If we go to the BrightArrow tile on the left here and go to Home, it's going to bring us to a page that's going to have lists created. And if I go, they're pre-populated lists. If I go in there, as an administrator, as a super admin, I have most of the staff in here. So I can go in, for example, and I could choose. This is another way that you can hit multiple teachers, or even multiple classes for a teacher, or multiple teachers' classes. So for example, if we wanted to do the entire dance department, for example, all of the dance classes, or all the high school dance classes, we could go to each of the high school dance teachers, click on their high school dance classes, and then go over to Jamie, and Dance Anatomy of Wellness, Dance 2. Those are the only ones that are high school there. And then, if we go back to BSCO, oops, yeah, a few teachers for some reason aren't showing up here. They show up under the Pioneer Valley All. Although, I don't know if, I'm not seeing, BSCO is, sorry. Oh my gosh, BSCO is with a K, Kaba, not C, and not B. I was doing the first name instead of last name. So if we take that class, that class, that class, and that class, those are all the high school ones. So once we have all of the students selected, then we say select an action, create a new message. Oops, wait a minute. Did it not keep? Huh. I'm confused now because it should be able to send to all of them at once, but it seems like it's only sending to whichever tab I'm currently on, which is a bit of a pain. So let me investigate that and get back to it. I'm sorry. I thought that I had this down, but it's acting a little different than last time I played with it. So You can always create your own custom lists as well. So if you have external people that you communicate with often, you can create a list so that you can include them in communications you send out, like media, for example, or DESI or something like that, charter school office. And then active Bright Chats, this feature I have not turned on yet, but what Bright Chats are is the text message to a text message communication piece. And I figure we'll roll that out a little bit later into the fall semester once we've got parents in the portal and we're got our routines under our belt. Then we can start expanding out communication platforms for the parents. So that's a basic overview of BrightArrow from the administrative side. If I didn't cover something or if you have questions, please email me and let me know. Thanks.